Another group howl, but again, no guarantee. These wolves they know they're going to get fed a snack. They deal with me all day, every day. They're like, Sean, we get it. So on the count of three, ready? 1, 2, 3. They also were howling this morning. I don't know if you guys heard that, but all right.
Let's go see the boys.
When they do howl back, people
Pretty much it didn't happen. They know we're humans. We sound different. We need to sound a little bit like them. Going up to the mountains. Chunk. You're sick, kid. ¿Qué pasó? So, vamos arriba. All right, so we are getting close now after walking 5 miles up the hill. We see our first wolf of the day. Getting close to it. It's cute because he knows he's gonna get fed right now. What's his name again?
Yeah, so if you guys would like to grab a seat, cushion, feel free. I do ask that we do grab a seat. We have one very shy wolf in this pack, and he's not really going to come out until we're all situated because he's kind of a
He's not shy.
Silas is not shy. The Kai is a lot more shy.
I think he's used to it. Well, what was that sound? Hello. Hello. Oh my god, he's not shy at all.
Silas is not shy whatsoever. He's very social. He's a social butterfly. The Kai, on the other hand, is a chicken. He's going to keep his distance. I challenge you guys to figure out where he's at right now, though. You might see him.
Oh, all the way inside.
Yep. So Nakai is just a little bit more shy than Silas. That is who he is as a wolf. So while we were talking about wolves as a species, as a whole, they are also individuals. So they have their own unique personalities. As you can see, Nakai is a little distant, a little more shy. Silas has got a care in the world. He knows he's the star of the show. He's happy to take all the attention. Nakai's just here for snacks. So Nakai's just highly food motivated. So we were talking about these animals, you know, as a species, right? But we also need to leave space for them as individuals as well. Wolves do experience emotion. They do experience, you know, emotions pretty similar to people. They can grieve. They can experience joy. Wolves can get depressed. Wolves can also be super happy. We did not train Silas to do that. I do like to start with that because he just knows that if he's going to wait there for a bit, he's going to get fed. Wolves are not trainable. That's one of the biggest differences between wolves and dogs. He has just learned that if he sits and waits there patiently, he will eventually get fed some pork chops today, right, Silas? I don't feed them right at the start because they are super food motivated, which means when there is no food, they're just gonna leave. As much as I think that I'm a part of Nakai and Silas's pack, I'm also the dude that just sits here, talks too much, and doesn't feed them enough, apparently, right, Silas? They will get fed multiple program snacks throughout the day. This will be their first of 2 program snacks. They also get fed about once a week. So I'm gonna feed them a little bit of pork chops in a little bit, but they're typically eating about 20 pounds of meat every single time they eat. So they're eating typically what we get is deer, beaver, or fish. They're eating about 20% of their body weight every single time that they eat. That is about the frequency and percentage of food that they are eating when they're in the wild as well. That's typically what we get here at the center. The ambassadors do get special snacks because they are special wolves. They're not going to get released into the wild. They will live with us for their entire lives. So we can give them human food. The wild wolves just get wild game. We also give the ambassador wolf dog toys. We give them things to play with. It's called enrichment. It's a way to keep them sharp, having a good time here at the Wolf Conservation Center. But while we do have Nakai they came from a very reputable ambassador breeder who breeds these guys for programs like the Wolf Conservation Center.
Temperament?
Huh? They're certain temperament, exactly. So you're selectively breeding for certain types of personalities. Nakai's been doing this for 9 years. He's still like kind of shaky on the whole human thing. It's not really like it can be what seems like an exact science, but then you get a wolf like Nakai who's just like, I'm here for the snacks. That's really it. So with gray wolves, there's no captive breeding for wild release. Gray wolves, when they're in captivity, are typically part of an ambassador program like this. The wild wolves, the red wolves, the Mexican gray wolves, they're the only wolves that are bred in captivity for wild release. When you release a gray wolf into the wild, it's typically through a process called translocation. So they're coming from another wild population. So those wolves that were just released in Colorado in December and January actually came from Oregon. They were translocated from another wild population and brought to the Colorado Rockies. So yeah, it's like, all right, please, thank goodness. So today they're getting a little bit of pork chops. Nakai is getting ready for his food. He's pretty excited. Silas is a little prince and has to get fed at the fence line. So Nakai works for his food a little more. So you would think, you guys ever go to like a friend's house and you see their dog and their dog's like, help, they don't feed me here. That's the wolves. This is his first of 2 program snacks today. They also got fed 20 pounds of meat on Thursday. So that's about as the frequency as they're eating in the wild. They eat on average every 7 to 10 days out in the wild. So we tried to feed them at about the same frequency. So Silas has acted like he's never been fed a day in his life. So we'll give Silas a little bit of pork chop first. Silas gets hand-fed because he's just such a prince, right, Silas? And as you guys notice, super delicate. He's not aggressive. He doesn't want to hurt me. And he's like, dude, there's no meat in that hand. And I'll throw Nakai in a piece. Sometimes Nakai catches it. Sometimes he doesn't. I don't want to make any guarantees. Nikki, if I give him a good throw, he usually catches it. Very rare. In the last 100 years, there have only been 14 documented attacks on people in North America. Of those 14 documented attacks, 12 of those wolves had rabies. So a healthy wolf really wants nothing to do with us. Wolves or any animal, when they get rabies, it causes them to not behave as they typically would. So yeah, those 14 documented attacks, 2 of them were fatal. So those 2 fatal attacks were linked to wolves that had rabies.
I'm close by.
Huh? So every wolf here is vaccinated against rabies. Good catch, Nikki. So rabies is a disease that will kill any mammal that contracts it, including humans. And so wolves are vaccinated when they are in captivity. They are vaccinated against rabies because that is essentially a guaranteed death. So we will vaccinate both the captive ambassadors and the captive wild wolves. The wild wolves, once they do get released into the wild, if they are captured during a health check, they might be given a vaccine, but once they're fully released into the wild, they're not typically getting that. And so we do vaccinate them against rabies. They also get heartworm medication when they are here. Again, these are things that will kill a wolf. We're trying to make sure these guys survive. And so while they are here, we will give them that basic veterinarian care. But once the wild wolves are in the wild, it's on them at that point.
How did the sort of myth about them being so violent end up taking shape?
Yeah, so some theories revolve around it being rabid wolves. So wolves that were documented to have rabies were shown to be aggressive. A lot of it also came from pretty constant conflict with wolves in the wild in Europe. A lot of those stereotypes and ideologies came over from Europe with colonization of the US. And so a lot, not all, but a lot of the indigenous societies in the United States had a very strong connection to wolves. That conservation, that ideology about these animals shifted with colonization of the US. What happened in Europe was that whole mythology about the big bad wolf was linked to ideas about ranching and farming out in Europe. And so statistically, wolves are also not a threat to livestock. So they'll be active in the earlier mornings and then a little bit later at night. How cool is a red-tailed wolf?
Crow.
Oh, look at
And it's chasing a raven. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So yeah.
Freddie or something?
So
The other one's coming around.
that's a super cool question. That's super cool sighting. Yeah, so they'll be like for the 2 p.m. programs, they'll come out, they'll get their snacks. If it's a really hot day, they might just be hanging out in their den. So it really just depends. We always tell people to come in the fall, in the winter. But they'll still come out, they'll come get fed their snacks in the middle of the heat. They'll go right back in sometimes, or they'll just go for a swim in their pond, which is pretty fun too. Actually, pretty cool. So some of the wild wolves are howling.
Why'd they start that?
Who
They
knows?
just do it out of nowhere?
Yeah, sometimes they'll just do it because they feel like it. They like to sing. So, do you guys hear the more deep and longer howl? That's a Mexican gray wolf. The one that sounds a little more yippy and cascading, those are the red wolves. So each type of wolf has its own distinct howl. And then even internally, Mackay and Silas, as gray wolves, their howls sound different as well. And wolves can howl in about 21 different dialects, so they can speak many wolf languages. So it's pretty cool.
Do they answer each other? Do Mackay and Silas answer them?
Mackay and Silas will sometimes howl back.
Okay.
We're here, so we're kind of stimulated
Yeah,
to
yeah,
Mackay
yeah.
and Silas.
Right.
But sometimes they'll all start howling. We have 23 wolves. Sometimes they'll all set off a chain reaction and start talking to each other. If we go up there now, they're going to stop howling,
Yeah.
so we can stay down here for a minute if you guys just want to take that in. It depends. There's not really overlapping. There's not really overlapping range with red wolves and grays. But at one point, Colorado is actually a really interesting place right now. Historically, Colorado was range. It's the southern range for Rocky Mountain grays and the northernmost range for Mexican grays.
Going up to the hill. We're on the Mount Everest mountain. This is the 9 mile going up the hill. We've been climbing all the way. All that in the back.
On this thing.
Getting his tired and exhausted.
These are
The wow.
One of the couple waters popped out. I have a hard time telling the difference between Bria and Helene. However, Diane is the smallest wolf that we have at the center. She weighs 35 pounds. So if you see a gray wolf in this enclosure, a Mexican gray that is particularly small, that is Diane. She's super teeny tiny. So again, Mexican gray wolves are a distinct subspecies of gray wolf. You will find these guys in Arizona and New Mexico. These 3 sisters, unfortunately, currently, because of the federal government, will not get the chance to get released into the wild. You can only release Mexican gray wolves as puppies, which means currently these 3 daughters will be with us for their entirety of their lives. Mexican gray wolf releases because there are 330 adult Mexican gray wolves in captivity in the United States right now that will not get released into the wild. And so they will be spending their lives here with us until the government changes those release plans. So there is one on the den, one below the den. If you guys look to my right, there is a small. That's Diane. Diane is teeny tiny. She is 35 pounds, and she is a pain to capture on health checks. Go figure. So we do health checks on these wild wolves every fall. We will go into this enclosure and all of the other wild wolf enclosures. We will form a human chain, a human line, and corral them into their service pens. They look just like a regular dog kennel. They are so afraid of us that they typically are going to subdue themselves, sit into their service pen, where we can then draw blood. We can check for any physical issues as well. We will typically muzzle the wolves when we are in there as well, but we don't always have to do that. We had a red wolf that used to live in this enclosure that got so afraid of us on a health check one time that he dug a hole in the ground and put his head in the ground and said, if I don't move, they're not gonna see me. That's the level of fear that we're dealing with these animals. They're not fearful and aggressive, they're fearful and they're going to run away. So we draw up a draft plan. We go in, we are we are able to participate in these health checks because of our participation in the Saving Animals from Extinction plan. But in terms of like this organization to expand and house these animals, a lot of it comes down to how much space you can give them. In terms of climate, red wolves were historically found throughout the entire American East. I can think of the other with another wolf so that they can hopefully breed. Ginger and PB are a bonding and breeding pair. This is about the time you would start to see wolves breeding with each other around Valentine's Day, wolf breeding season. Then they will have puppies typically in April or in May. These two wolves are still pretty new to this enclosure. Priya, Helen, and Diane have been here for their entire lives. They were born in another enclosure, but they have been here for the entirety of their lives. These two wolves increase new genetic variability.
I'm recording.
Oh.
And this concludes in our visit to the Grand Canyon. Wolf, what is this? What is this, Kaden? Huh?
Wolf conservation.
Conservatory. They sing. They sing alone. Huevón.
Yeah, wow.
Hey, huevona. Wait. Wait for me. Wait for me. What you doing?
Bye bye.
No, bye-bye. We have
See,
to.
my nose is so red.
We have to go down the hill. Another 6 miles down from the Mountain Everest. Look. Oh, no way. Have to cross the mountain right there. Then down to the hill. Oh my gosh. Okay then. Anyway. Going down to get some cold drinks. Orange juice. It was nice. Get to see 5 wolves. This serious?
I was curious.
And what it tastes like?
Water.
No, I don't think so.
Throw it up and then.
Throw it to your mom.
So that's recording.
Two back. All right. Let's see which one of us falls down here. That'll be pretty interesting. All right, clean up your shoes pretty good, and then we can start going down. You got good traction? 1, 2, 3.
Go with your hands like this.
No, because
No.
So it is strawberry?
Yeah, very good.